My name is Brayton.
I'm Sister Mary Media. I'm in the San Francisco house of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence.
I moved to San Francisco in 1978. I wanted to move to San Francisco, as many people did at the time, to participate in the building of a culture, of a queer culture. This is where it was being born, San Francisco and in New York.
Come on out.
But here in particular, there was a connection between spirituality and culture and politics. And so it was that fusion of those elements that was so compelling about San Francisco at the time. I met a group of people from San Francisco at the first Radical Fairy Gathering in 1979, which was organized by Harry Hay, who you may know from the Mattachine Society. And at that gathering, we got to know each other better, and we got to know each other in a queer context. We had taken a step outside the patriarchy, outside heteronormative behavior.
It's morning again in America. Today, more men and women will go to work than ever before in our country's history. With interest rates at about half the record highs of 1980, nearly 2,000 families today will buy new homes, more than at any time in the past 4 years. This afternoon, 6,500 young men and women will be married. And with inflation at less than half of what it was just 4 years ago, they can look forward with confidence to the future. Under the leadership of President Reagan, our country is prouder and stronger and better. Why would we ever want to return to where we were less than 4 short years ago?
When we came back to San Francisco, we wanted to bring this new fairy consciousness into what we were doing and to share it with other people. We started to build a community of like-minded people, and how can we take this into the streets was kind of the thing. How can we spread this message? So it's like, oh, well, we've done nun drag, we could do something like that. And so out of that idea, we formed a group called the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. The Sisters are a group where there is a spiritual component, where there is a community service component, where there is a queer political component. And so it was this fabulous mixture of these different elements that made the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence such an interesting group. And that's what we were trying to create, to fuse these elements into something that could make a statement. We weren't quite sure that it was going to happen, but as soon as we hit the streets, dressed as nuns, this group of gay men dressed as nuns, it was electrifying, and it changes the street. It gives people permission to engage in make-believe themselves. After about 2 years, I think it was around 1981, that Gilbert Baker saw the attention maybe that we were getting in the press, and saw this as a vehicle that kind of fit into his own sense of doing political work and doing work in a public forum. And he petitioned to join the Sisters, and he became Sister Chanel number 2001. And Gilbert brought this sense of pop culture is really where you're really going to have an impact. Up until that time, the gay community was kind of in the backwaters of like the newspaper, and it was sort of like a political side issue. Well, Gilbert wanted us to be in, mainstream pop culture. Gilbert was very good at taking the symbols, but making our own political statements in the process. So he would organize things like a ritual at Union Square. We did an exorcism of the Falwells and the fundamentalist Christians.
And now we introduce Jerry Falwell. We invite you to cast off the demons of shame and repentance for the redemption of love and joy. In the name of our Savior, Jesus.
He helped me in particular in the Miss Haight-Ashbury contest, where he made an evening gown for me in the gown competition. It kind of took a village to get this beauty pageant contestant together. Gilbert really took charge of that process. He was really excited about having one of the nuns as a beauty contestant. And so he did the evening gown, he did my makeup, he was there for me for the whole process. So Gilbert was very generous in terms of letting other people shine, so that's what I remember about him in the early days. One of the events that we engaged in was the Red Party that Gilbert organized. He was the producer of that event. And that event came about because Dianne Feinstein, currently the senator from California, was the mayor of San Francisco at the time, and she was interviewed about the sisters. And her response was, "When I see the sisters, I see red." And so Gilbert took this phrase and said, "Oh, she sees red? We'll really give her red. So let's have an event on May Day, on May 1st. And it was a Russian-themed event. So as it turns out, there is a Russian center in San Francisco, and we rented that center for the Red Party. Gilbert always thought big, and so it wasn't enough to just have a dance party or something like that. We had to have a variety show and a fashion show. So Gilbert got Russian flag to decorate all around the Russian center with the communist theme for the Red Party.
First you get down on your knees, fiddle with your rosaries, bow your head with great respect and genuflect, genuflect, genuflect. Do whatever steps you want if you have cleared them with the pontiff. And Ave Maria, gee, it's good to see you. Getting ecstatic and sort of dramatic and doing the Vatican right.
Now it turns out that the Russian Center was owned by the White Russians. These were the people who wanted to restore the Tsar to the throne of Russia. They didn't want to have anything to do with the communist theme that Gilbert had, for the Red Party. And so that did lead to a problem because they came to the event and saw these Russian flags. Well, they were infuriated. We got a lot of fallout in the press because of that. And yet we also did get some defenders. And so it was perfect for Gilbert because he was, the agent provocateur always. And so to have people complaining and defending you was just where he wanted us to be. And so the unfortunate thing was that it was intended as a fundraiser, and Gilbert pays little attention to funding, and so because he's always about the impact. He's about the consequence of whatever he's building. An event that the sisters had was a basketball game where the sisters were playing the gay men's chorus. One of the things that was involved was that Gilbert was the homecoming queen at the event. And that basketball event was a fantastic event. And it was like this intense experience of psychodrama for people because gay sports had not become a thing yet at that time. And so people were coming to this event and were experiencing, by being there in a really gay context, all of the humiliations that queer people felt in high school and in public school and all of that, like non-belonging. It was like, oh, we belong, you know. Experience this event in a new context. It's like, yes, we've created a new world for ourselves. I'm not sure of the exact date, but I think in 1987 the Pope came to visit San Francisco. And when Gilbert and Sadie found out that the Pope was visiting San Francisco, they registered the name of the official San Francisco Welcoming Committee for the Pope's visit, or something along those lines. And they wanted to do something to kind of resist, to express their opposition to the homophobia of the church, to the misogyny of the church. And so they organized a welcoming committee for the Pope. At that time, they also organized an exorcism and, you know, found a way to welcome the Pope in San Francisco style. When Gilbert joined the order, we knew that he had created the rainbow flag, and he was the Betsy Ross of the gay movement. That's how he described himself. But the flag hadn't taken on this incredible connectiveness that it has to this day. It being the symbol of like kind of a gay community's need for freedom and for an expression of the celebration of being gay. And I have to say that in reading the book, Rainbow Warrior, I really had the sense of the power that this great symbol that Gilbert created has taken on worldwide. And when I travel, it's like you go anywhere in Europe or in Canada, or and you know where your community is. The symbol is there for you. It's like a welcome mat. Gilbert definitely had a diva side. He never met a photographer he didn't like. He always knew where to position himself, where the photographers were going to be. The press photographers always made a point of being there, of reconnecting with them at any event, and making sure that they got the great shots that they needed. And the next morning, he was always like the first one to call you and say, we're on the front page of the Chronicle, or we're in the BAR this week. He always knew what the press was. It's because for Gilbert, the media was his canvas. He used the media the way other artists use materials. And so for him, it was like, this is how you get your message out. You give them visuals, you give them something to report on, you give them a quote, and he used the media really in a very savvy way. The thing about Gilbert that I remember most is that, A, he was an artist, and so it wasn't about his ego. I mean, there was a time to be a diva, and there was a time for ego, and a time to plan and to make sure that you were going to get the maximum benefit out of any project that you were engaged in. But once he was engaged in a project, it was about the project. And his ego really didn't come into it. He was always about making the other person look good, and he was very generous in that way. He was like generous to a fault. I mean, he would like spend money on making clothes for people and spending his time sewing things for people. So I remember his generosity and just the fun time it was being around him. You always were in a good mood when you were around Gilbert.
Leave your lies and prejudice behind and share with us in God's love. In the name of the maiden, the mother, the crone, and her consort, the God of joy, the circle is open and yet unbroken. The ritual is done. Let the music and dancing begin.